All right, cool. Well, I guess let's say good morning. All right, y'all. Nick, Brandon, and Barrett here. How's it going? We're doing a live stream, Amongst Friends podcast live stream from my place. So we're going to talk about a couple things today and just have a chill conversation. So, yeah. How's it going, guys?
It's good. It's like my favorite time of year. Like, not only spooky season, but most importantly, like hoodie season.
Yeah, hoodie weather.
Best
Beanie
time of
weather.
year.
Beanie weather.
Beanie and hoodie. Though I wear hoodies like all year round, honestly, as long as I don't have to go outside in them. You know what I mean?
I retire mine for. They'll come out randomly whenever it's cold in the morning, but they get retired until it's cold again. And I'm basically counting down the days.
Yeah. No, the weather's great at night. It's just that 30-degree differential that happens by noon right now is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
It's like I've got the heat on, in the morning, and then trying to get the windows open in time before the cool goes away. And then by the time it's 5 o'clock, it's like stuffy again. And I got the cool air on. So, yeah.
I think the worst part is though, is like the first time like you use like your heating, and it just like smells like your house is burning down
Dude,
for like a good 30 minutes.
It set off my smoke alarms the other day and scared the shit out of me because I turned the heat on and went back to sleep. And then Ollie was up playing in her room.
Yeah.
And me and Kane are still asleep, and I turned the heat on, fell back asleep, and then the smoke alarms start going off. And bro, I Scooby-Doo ran
What does that look
into the living room. Like,
I never watched Scooby-Doo.
It's like
Okay, well, that's a whole
legs
other...
moving fast,
What?
but like running in place, not moving.
yeah,
wasn't
that's where
allowed
you're
to.
like doing this on the hardwood floor to like try and like,
With the music. Like,
Yeah.
okay. I got
yes. Yeah, it was ridiculous, but like no exaggeration. Literally, Scooby-Doo ran into the living room until like it stopped before I even got there. But it scared the crap out of me. And I get back to the bedroom, and Kane's like, "Did you turn the heat on?" And I was like, "Yes." Because
Then what happened?
yeah, and then I went back to sleep.
Oh,
Everything
okay.
was fine. Business as usual.
I thought you found $20.
Crisis
or
averted. No, just went back to sleep.
See,
Yeah.
I did it right.
Ollie didn't start a fire, so I mean it was all good.
I did it right before I left for work one day during the week, and I was up for. I was probably like around the house for like 30 minutes before I left, and it was just that bad feeling. I was like, I'm leaving, but it smells like this. I'm like, I just like lighting it on fire and walking away.
Yeah. That's a good name for a song, though. Ollie didn't start a fire.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But yeah, I don't know if it makes us old to be talking about thermostat dynamics in the
Bro.
winter.
I remember when my wife was pregnant, like I got her a thermostat that connects to the Wi-Fi, so like it was a big deal because then you could change it from your phone.
That's pretty
And there wasn't a, hey, can you go set the thermostat to 71, which is a whole other problem in itself. But
Yeah, but you're like playing with Pandora's box there to like be able to change it just whenever.
yeah,
Then you run the risk of changing too much.
That electric bill, man.
well, that's
It was steep this summer, dude.
yeah. I might have to start getting her to pay for it.
I think you should, or at least generating the electricity yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
Like on, like, a
it's
bike.
definitely a conversation.
I mean, until you get those solar panels.
It's a little bit more off topic than I want to get.
I think it's right on topic.
It
actually.
might be. I got a lot to unpack with my issues with the electric bill and what I handed over whenever I got a thermostat that connects to the Wi-Fi.
Speaking of unloading, I think this is a good time to like just get something off my chest. You know, and I kind of alluded to this, but like why are testicles on the outside? You know what I mean? Like I was thinking about that recently. Like it's terrible design decision. Like especially with all these other organs and critical parts inside your body. You got this like super vulnerable spot. I was just driving, and I was like, "Why is it that way?" I mean, and here's the thing: it's either A, it's by design, right? Like by a creator, It's like, yeah, that's how we're gonna do that. Or B, it's by evolution. And it's like when people are talking about like great white sharks are still around because they've withstood the test of time. You're telling me a nutsack has endured like 50 billion years of evolution and there was no better way. It wasn't like at some point like it's just sucked up inside your body because that was safer. It's like that doesn't even make sense. Like it's against evolution. It doesn't. Anyway, that's how
I've heard one comedian put it as I can't remember who it was. But it's just like that whole area is just like a bunch of extra parts that God had left over and just kind of like threw them there. Yeah. But it does seem like bad design.
I mean,
considering the primitive dynamics of men being like the warrior aspect in a primitive sense. It's like, let's put like your most like sensitive area, like your weak spot, just on display.
I mean, it's like a critical enemy weak point design, like in video games, but just like in real life. And I can't think.
Maybe that's why.
I mean, yeah, maybe
like
that.
With all this intelligence, they could get too strong. They need
They need that. So we gotta be able to humble them really quickly.
Yeah.
But then if you attack someone in that way, you're like ostracized for it. It's not like obviously he hit him in the nuts. It's like, well, why wouldn't he? It's the most vulnerable part. It's like, no, you do that and you're considered a coward. I think it makes sense from a violence perspective.
I want to be.
Yeah, don't keep it PG-13 versus R.
Think about how I say this, but like, especially whenever you think about how like men typically like with the men versus women dynamic. I think men need to have some sort of weak point like that, because if not, with like if you are the more powerful one, you do need a weak spot just in case you're like.
Yeah,
you need to be humbled.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it's like I don't.
So you're saying like women are just weak entirely. Like it's like they don't have a specific.
That's exactly what I was avoiding.
But like men have like no weakness besides this one spot. I get it. What you're saying? Yeah, no, that's fair. So anyway,
it kind of reminds me of like
that's on cam. That's recorded now.
It kind of reminds me of like the same dynamic with like the great apes in Dragon Ball.
I don't know that lore.
Like you cut off their tail and like there's all their strengths.
So what are they, just big and weak at that point? No, like I don't know. I don't watch Dragon Ball.
Well,
I guess we can't talk about the new show then.
I mean,
I haven't watched it yet.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix and
Hulu.
Crunchyroll.
And it's brand new animation?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's the last thing that Toriyama worked on.
Oh, he did work on it?
I don't know.
The first episode hook was.
I don't know too much as far as like lore or anything for the new show, but like on the surface, it looks like, because between Dragon Ball Z, Super, and GT, like GT's the one thing he didn't work on, and it's like almost like on the surface, it's like a reimagining if he would have did GT, it's the way he would have did it.
That's interesting. So,
but also like a lot of like Dragon Ball, like there's a lot of just like plain Dragon Ball influence on it too, especially on like some of the art where they're promoting it. But it also takes like they're hopping around in the timeline.
Yeah.
So it may take place before Super, which is just interesting.
Well, that's already...
It at least takes place before Superhero, 100%.
That's already like a weird contention for us. Like, we're watching through it as a family, and like we probably got like 50 or 60 episodes of Super left to go. And I'm like trying to like preface all of it with the kids and with Bryson, like, hey, everything you're watching right now technically took place before the last 2 episodes of Z that you watched.
Yeah.
Which
that doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't, because there's like a lot of really different like power transformations and stuff that happen in Super that like
didn't seem possible
not even
in those
mentioned.
last 2 episodes. Yeah.
You know, I want to talk about this for a second, if it's okay. Like, so I never watched Dragon Ball, right? And I've seen like maybe 1 or 2 episodes in my life, which is nothing, especially if they're out of sequence. But it's just like we just didn't have cable or whatever, and my parents were just weird about that stuff. So like, why is Dragon Ball great though? Like almost everybody I know in my age range within 10 years, older or younger, is like, oh, Dragon Ball's just awesome. Obviously, there's a big part of this nostalgia, right? And that's true. That's true for like anything.
The after school cartoons for me. It's the Toonami. Like when you got home around like 6 o'clock, there would be like more of a geared for teens kind of cartoons and stuff going on. It was the main thing that was showcased during that time. And I remember it was like when I started watching it, it was all in reruns, but like they were going through the Cell Saga on Toonami is where I caught it first. And that was just an awesome arc to jump in the middle of. The story was good. The overcomences were good. I don't know, a lot of like cool character development during that. So, and it's, I mean, like a lot of anime is just very over dramatic in its own way. It's like encapsulating. Where, I mean, in those days, Goku's powering something up for 3 or 4 episodes before something actually pops off.
That's what I was.
And it just like always left you on the edge of your seat for some reason. And now it's like a running joke about it, but back then it was like the thing that kept you coming back.
Yeah.
All that filler.
Did it pay off though when it happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost always. There's a few times where it was like, really?
Like
But
they just wind
The
down.
the one that gets me is like, so each one of these bigger fights take place over multiple episodes, but I think for like the Frieza saga, like the Frieza fight, took like 35 or 36 episodes. I could be wrong, but just that fight took that long. But here's the kicker: is that after that amount of time, the next episode after that is recapping. The entire episode's a recap of those like 30
That's
something.
kind of clever though that they would go, you know what, we really got to like pound this narrative into you because that was a lot, we know.
And then they like rebooted the show like maybe 10 years ago, and did a version of it where it was remixed and mastered and cut out all the filler. Or a bunch of the filler, so those fights didn't take 30 episodes. They took like a few. And
They also like don't have blood in them.
yeah.
So there's some trade-offs. I think I've got to the point though where I like the filler
Yeah.
to a degree. Like before we started watching Super, there's a couple movies that came out, like Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F, where like it's like an hour and a half long movie. But then the first like season or 2 of the show is literally the movie broken up into like 50 or 60 episodes. So they include a lot of filler, but like what I found like watching the movie and then going directly to the show is that a lot of the filler they add in like different like character dynamics and like character growth moments where I don't think the movie had enough time to like go into. Because like one of the bigger like character arcs that's kind of, it's not really at the forefront as much, is just like Vegeta's arc from going from like ultimate bad guy to like in some
Hard-ass
ways
good guy.
like a hard ass dad. And like there's like certain moments where the movie kind of like glosses over it a little bit, but the show actually goes in depth where I think there's like one moment in one of the movies where he like promises Trunks, his son, that if he lands a hit on him, like they'll go to like an amusement park or something.
Love that shit.
I don't think in the movie they ever like follow up on it, but then in the show they don't exactly go. I don't know if they go to an amusement park, but they do something.
They do like a whole day trip thing
Yeah.
where they go shopping and they do go
Yeah,
to an
yeah.
amusement park because the whole time everything he's
yeah,
doing,
yeah.
his arms are crossed
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
pissed. He's on a roller coaster and he's pissed. He's shopping and he's pissed. He's walking on the beach and he's pissed. Like the whole thing. It was like a little montage of him just like in
Just-
uncomfortable places, just like
frozen in a pose.
deadpan,
That's kind of
arms
funny.
crossed.
But as far as like the like what drew me in, I don't know if it was necessarily the first anime to come over from Japan, but it was one of
Yeah.
the first,
Definitely
and
that.
it was the most accessible. So like, based on everything I'd watched around that time or before then, it was just different.
That makes sense.
Where it's,
And just the fact that maybe it's like part of that was just to be contrarian on my side. It's like, oh, it's something different. So that drew me in, and like some of the comedy of it gets me because it's like it's loosely based on Journey to the West, but like there's a lot of parody that's like thrown in with it, and a lot of times like they're very on the nose about it.
Gotcha.
So it's just like I said, overall, like it was just something different.
Yeah. Do you think like looking at it, going like, is it objectively good? Like, is it an especially good out of all the anime we have today? Now, like, well, let me preface that question with, like, because it's so big, Dragon Ball, I think it's gotten a lot of quality that other animes haven't. So maybe even if it wasn't as that good when it started, now it's like probably got some of the best animators and writers and voice actors that are out there, or they've become that. So like, but you know, when you think about just like really good stories that you like, does it have that, or do you think a lot of it is just like it's really entertaining and just like a comfort food?
it might be that.
I think it's more so that.
There is a sense of like, I mean, Gohan's arc through the Saiyan saga through the Cell saga. It's like the first big chunk of Dragon Ball Z. Like, I like his journey and like what kind of, I called it overcommences earlier, but like the things that each of those characters do overcome in a sense is good storytelling, but like still to this day nothing to me tops Full Metal Alchemist. Like it's not on that level of like
It's a whole other
storytelling.
conversation. Yeah.
Like that, there's not like, I don't know. A lot of what's good about Dragon Ball to me is the nostalgia. It is like, it ties me to like a really like, I don't know, a joyful time of my childhood that I would come home and watch it, or I'd watch it whenever I was doing like the YMCA after school and like staying in the cafeteria at the school. Like I can remember who I was with when I was watching like certain episodes, and like, I don't know, something about that ties me to it. And then I've kind of just like held on to that. But even like I had roommates about 10 years ago whenever Super was coming out, and we watched, I don't really watch subbed anime. I'd rather just watch it dubbed because I don't know, screw me. But I just grew up watching it that way. I never really cared to have to read it, but I like that, the attention that you have to put on it whenever you're reading it subbed. But I watched all of Super subbed as it was coming out in Japan. We would get it on the Sunday and watch, like, sometimes we would miss a few weeks, but like we watched all of Super with our roommates. It was just a cool bonding experience for us to like be watching a new Dragon Ball show as it's coming out and be able to talk about it and theorize what's going to happen next week, and that whole thing, like that whole camaraderie about it is what I've always enjoyed about it. Because like I got to do that whenever I was younger. I got to do that whenever Super was coming out, and now Dragon Ball Daima, the new show. Can't wait for you to start watching that, because like I'm already like I'm back in, and having to watch it subbed, which is like I've already kind of gotten over that because I watched Super subbed. So
They don't have simultaneous release right now?
I don't think so. It's on Hulu, at least. It's only
I was
subbed.
going to say, it came out on Crunchyroll last Friday,
Yeah, we watched it.
and then it came out on Netflix a few days ago.
Maybe Netflix. I don't know if any of them have it dubbed, but either way, I'm not like, I was kind of just excited to get back into that mode of like enjoying it that way, just because I surprisingly enjoyed Super that way too.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like watching it sub, just mainly because the voice acting, there's a lot of emotion that the voice actors are able to give that I think doing it dubbed doesn't do it justice. At times. And
it's a totally different vibe.
one of the better shows that with that, at least that I've watched, has been Demon Slayer. It's like real good that I would prefer to watch sub over dub. But yeah, my problem is I like to multitask when I do stuff, no matter what I'm watching. And it's hard to do that with subtitles.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to force yourself. But with Dragon Ball though, since I'm watching it with the kids, like I have to watch it dubbed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I feel like watching it dubbed now, it would be a totally different show. Like watching Super, because I've never seen it in English, and the way that they
translate
and localize and like change it up. I just feel like even the character's cadence sounds different because like Japanese Goku and English Goku are two totally different characters to me.
Yeah.
But I ended up enjoying Japanese Goku better, I think, because I thought that it suited his silliness and his playfulness better, and also how the other characters treat him. Because I don't know, but it's good. It's just there's a lot there that for me it's nostalgic.
Well, that's the thing is like I ask myself like, okay, can I get into this, or like without the nostalgia, is this something worth starting and investing in? And the new one, like if it's a good anime, just period with especially if the animation's got to be good. Like for me to want to invest in any anime, it's got to be like captivating at least. It doesn't have to be the best, but like Full Metal had great.
You can hop
animation.
into Daima and it gives a full recap up to the point that it starts.
Is that the Netflix one?
That's the new one that just started.
Or pick any video game they've ever made.
Yeah.
And they've retold the story every time.
Single time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I might check it out then. Well, I do like the, you guys know him by name, but the original artist who's
Akira
Toriyama, and I really like the Dragon Quest series, and I played Sandland. I hadn't finished it, but he's got a very specific style, and now I'm kind of like getting an interest. And plus, Chrono Trigger, right? He did the concept art for and whatnot. So, yeah, I might check it out. But I appreciate the context of why it's cool.
I'd say video game wise, like Kakarot probably does the best retelling of the story.
That's what, PS3 or PS4?
No, it's on PS5.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely. I think it does have and just like gameplay, like because it's an open world exploration Dragon Ball Z game, pretty much that goes through the story from the beginning, and it's a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more sentimental with like the small moments, even.
It's an open world.
What
is? And it's like good open world.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it meets your standards of there might be something that pops in and you're like, I don't know about that.
Listen, I'm getting better about coping with that. But like, I just mean like there's stuff to do, and like open world games without side objectives are like a crime against humanity as far as I'm concerned.
Side quests, like that's the thing where I'm saying like it's like a little bit. It's an open world game and you can go through the story of Dragon Ball, but there's also small little things that like are just.
Which one is it?
Side quest, Kakarot.
And that came out on.
It came out on PS4, but I think they released a PS5 upgrade.
Doesn't Superman? What's Superman's name from like his home?
Kal-El.
Yeah, that is like Goku's like homeworld name.
So yeah, when he was on Earth, like his grandfather gave him the name Goku, but like the other Saiyans from his race. When they came to Earth, like they revealed to him that his real name was Kakarot. And that's one of the other like joke things about the show is like just the naming conventions. A lot of the Saiyans are named after food items.
Well, a lot of just characters in general.
Like a lot of the Namekians are like named after instruments.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's like a few other connections where like. Vegeta's wife's name's Bulma, which is like Japanese for bloomers.
Mm.
So then they name their son Trunks. So it's underwear. And that goes all the way back to kind of like the... I don't want to spoil anything. I don't know if you plan on watching it or not.
I'm going to play the Kakarot.
But,
Kakarot. And this is Bandai Namco, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I trust almost anything, at least for a shot from them. And it's free with PlayStation Plus. So, download the console. But no, so that'll give me some of the basics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll walk you through
I
the
definitely,
story.
I started out with Z, but I've since went back and watched all of Dragon Ball. The only problem is, I enjoy the filler, but it is long.
A whole lot of it.
Now, it's not as long as like One Piece or Naruto, I don't think, but
Yeah.
it's still long. And but yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It has been more of like a comfort food, I think,
No, I got
because with other anime that I've watched since then, I could say that like arguably like the storytelling and stuff like that is better in other things, but there's just like a familiarity to it, and I don't know, it just the way they don't take themselves too seriously all the time is endearing to me.
I mean, at this point, you probably feel like you're seeing old friends or familiar friends when you watch it, right?
Yeah.
And
I just want to see where they're at, how they're doing, how far they've come at this point.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like the same feeling I got from playing Final Fantasy VII, where it's like, I know all these characters.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about like who they are or what they represent.
Yeah.
Mm.
Except
That,
Kate
like I don't
Sith.
really like notice
a lot of
another
doubt about
thing.
that.
No, sorry. No, I get what you're saying.
But
Yeah, that's cool. I wanted to check it out, but there's part of me that's like, sometimes you ask people about stuff like there's things I'm into. People are like, is it good? No, I'm like, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you love it and should you? Absolutely, but like, don't. At this point, don't invest the time in trying to get caught up on every single season, for the past 30 years or whatever it is of X thing.
Unless you're ready that's how I feel. Like, it's like, I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, no, it's not good. But also, it's one of those things where you have to like hard preface that it is a lot to get into. Like you were saying, like One Piece and Naruto are things I've always wanted to be into, but have never been able to commit as much as I want to be able to commit to something that has that much of a lengthy burden.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to like
Do it.
to commit to it.
That's
and
fair.
Dragon Ball could be like that easily for people because there's a lot to it, and it's definitely not as long as those shows, but there's still a lot to go over.
yeah, I just think, like I said, I started out with Z and went back to Dragon Ball, and there's like some connection there with like some of the characters like that I would have preferred to watch Dragon Ball first, but I like Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is what he was telling you about as far as it being
All the filler
condensed. I wish they did that with Dragon Ball too, because I think there's like 5 or 6 seasons of Dragon Ball, and like there's only like maybe 2 or 3 of those that I would really consider essential. Like there's a lot of the Red Ribbon Army stuff that it's kind of passable, but like Dragon Ball Z starts out like Goku's an adult, but Dragon Ball is him as a kid, and there's just like you understand more of his like naivety of like being the kid versus like if you just start with Z, there's some of it's like, man, why's this grown adult like adult, like essentially, and
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
There's a little bit more forgiveness for him whenever you see how far he's come, and like that he still is that child from the beginning.
Okay.
But
Like a Shazam type scenario.
but,
or something.
but I will say the first season or so of Dragon Ball is a little more vulgar,
yeah,
and like some of it's
Some of
jokes.
that's cultural too,
Yeah.
right?
Very cool.
It's like
Yeah.
late 80s Japanese stuff. Like there's some of it where it's like it's probably normal for them, where
Yeah, for us, it's like, did that just, is that even there? Yeah, no, I feel the same way about even some of the Studio Ghibli movies. I'm like, why did
like
they?
the first episode of Dragon Ball shows like Goku standing like naked on this rock, peeing into this pond, but it's like straight on shot.
See, that's fascinating.
But it's not detailed enough to like be
no, but
that
it's
vulgar.
also probably not. Yeah, it's not necessarily trying to be either.
Yeah.
But that blows
The guy
my
that
American
trains him
mind.
is,
You know?
is a total fucking creep. The dude
Yeah,
that,
there's
like,
a lot of man. The villains in anime.
he's not even a villain. He's the guy that's training our hero.
Yeah, and he's like just the biggest pervert.
Yeah, that's just his personality.
Yeah.
He's just
Yes.
like, yeah,
Like 100% all in on being a disgusting pervert.
that is a
That
complex
somehow
topic.
helps Goku unlock potential.
Yeah, well,
I
you got to
don't
work
know.
with what you got, I guess. I don't know, man. That's
Yeah.
well, we don't even try to unpack that.
No.
But no, we'll have to talk just about like animation more one episode and stuff,
Yeah.
and anime and all that, because I've got some favorites too. But Dragon Balls, won't go away. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, it's one of those. It's like it's essentially to anime what the Beatles are to music, where it's like there's so much
Pioneers,
inspiration
yeah.
taken from it. Where like I don't know if there was anything before Dragon Ball that had like tournament arcs and stuff like that, but like now every anime's got some kind of tournament arc where it's just
oh yeah,
like a battle of power.
it's like the
And-
Tekken tournament type,
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
Well,
That's-
like there's like entire seasons that's just that, like the tournament itself, and
There's entire seasons that are the build up to the tournament, and then a season that's all the tournament.
See, I think that's great as long as there's like good payoff. I've seen too many shows.
There's definitely good payoff.
It doesn't always have to be good payoff, but you better have good payoff. At
well,
least
when there's not
60.
good payoff, it's funny enough to like not take itself too seriously.
I gotcha. Yeah,
But like,
Yeah.
you're thinking of a very specific example.
oh yeah, for
But I'll-
sure.
there's
There's
a lot
like
of-
3 or 4 that I can name, but I wouldn't want to spoil it.
No.
But
you
no,
guys are
like
selling me on it though. Like checking out just starting somewhere. The game is probably where I'll start,
yeah,
and then
Yeah.
the new show, and just see what it's.
I think you should watch one of the movies. To be honest,
Why would I do that? It's not the least context
It's-
I can possibly get.
well,
Maybe that's a good thing.
at least with like Super, there's 2 movies that kind of kick off the show. In a way, you could. There's an order to them, but like, and those movies have enough of a condensed plot that
You guys
I feel like
appreciate that.
yeah, I think so.
yeah.
And good, like that's also where the animation is at its finest, is in the movies.
Probably the
No, it's
biggest
definitely
budget.
better.
Yeah.
Throughout the series, you can see where like someone was supposed to be off that day or something. Like,
Yeah.
especially through Super. Especially in the first half of Super, I will say. First half of Super, there was a couple of those episodes where like they didn't even finish drawing some shit.
Yeah.
It's not always prominent, but like there were definitely times where I remember like whenever we were watching it with our roommates, like looking over at Zach and being like, "Does it look like they finished his face?"
Like, you're like, no, it's on purpose. But sometimes
Like,
it
there's
is,
lines
too.
missing or something here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's.
But that's not to like deter you away from it.
No.
But it is kind of like intermittent throughout, like at least through Super. It was like Z was pretty consistent with being like the same style. I don't know, something in Super happened weird where the art was strange for a minute, and you don't understand why people have different hair color now
Yeah.
and things like that.
Especially when like in Super they do cutback, like they'll do like a cutback, a flashback scene,
And their hair
and they
looks
still
like-
leave the 2 hair colors different.
Yeah, they'll flashback in Super. They'll flashback to things in Z, and the animation's pretty different between both shows. Like it's more polished in
Yeah.
Super, and they'll cut back to a character in Z, like back when he had purple hair, and now his hair's blue. No real reason why.
Well.
I mean, there kind of is, but it's not clear. It's not a clear reason. It's just,
I don't.
you don't.
I don't know if I get. I mean, I get it.
It's small
I'll
things.
get hung
but
up on it. Yeah.
I'm still pretty hung up on that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
like
moving.
the thing that gets me about like the games though, at least in the last 3 or 4, is just how they've committed to DLC for stuff. There was like a meme I saw yesterday of,
You talking about Xenoverse 2?
well, Xenoverse. The first Xenoverse did it pretty well too,
Okay.
but like this new show that just came out, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
Xenoverse 2 is a game that came out in like 2017 or 18, if I'm not mistaken. It's still getting like character like skin packs
Is that a good
every
thing?
like 6 months.
Are you
or
saying
so.
it's a good thing or a bad
Yeah.
thing?
Well, yeah, like it's a game from the PS4 era that has characters in it that weren't even developed in the time that the game came out. So like they're consistently adding in updated content into it that's like up to date with the shows. Where like whenever that game was conceived, there was no idea. There's no way there was any
Gotcha.
idea of this.
Mm.
Like,
So that's what Xenoverse 2. Then the Kakarot game is getting DLC like story missions of the new show.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then the Sparking Zero has it's going to have like characters from the new
yeah,
show. and
it'll be
stuff
getting
as
updates
DLC.
for the foreseeable.
Which they
future,
came
yeah.
out. They came out together. That's the one that's expected. The other 2 games still getting DLC was unexpected.
which is cool. So no matter where your Dragon Ball medium is, it's like it's trying to stay as updated with, relevant with like some of the new stuff as it can.
See, I appreciate that. Like when the franchise gets a lot of support like that to be, I don't know, just be good, for lack of a better word. The games I really want to play from that series are on Game Boy Advance though, and I never played them, but they were like top down.
Sagas.
I don't know if it was it Sagas, but it was like a top down RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they looked. I heard they were great. I heard they were some of the best RPGs on Game Boy Advance, and,
Yeah.
and I love pixel art. But yeah, those
Now-
are locked behind that Nintendo border, of inaccessibility. But anyway,
I don't know if
yeah, that's true.
I don't know if with Fighter Z they're getting any DLC from the new show.
Which is a bummer because
But,
I
like-
think that's my favorite of the like current Dragon. I have Sparking Zero and haven't played it yet, but
That's a fighting game, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
So
Like open
Sparking Zero is like a 3D like arena brawler, whereas Fighter Z is like
Marvel versus
classic,
Capcom.
classic Street Fighter.
Mhm.
And like for what that is, like I like it better than Street Fighter,
yeah,
like classic Street
you
Fighter.
pick 3, and you can like cycle out between.
Okay,
the
it's like a
three
Tekken
characters.
tag type thing where you can.
You can like do.
Oh no, like Marvel versus.
It's
Capcom.
literally Marvel vs.
that's
Capcom, where
right.
you pick your 3 characters, and that game was really cool because it just had so much like, if you got 2 characters on your team and you're on a map where like they have something big happen in the show, like it's a map of a moment, you can trigger a cutscene with like a big ability that's like
Oh, that's
a
cool.
memory from something that happened.
That's neat.
And it'll like replay it out and do like some big move.
That's cool.
And it was super cool.
But like what's got me like back into the games, like with Sparking Zero come out, I really do think it's good. It's essentially like a spiritual successor to Budokai Tenkaichi 3, which is like one of the last games that came on like the PS2 era, and it feels just like continuation of that. But after playing it for a little while, I did go back to like the first Xenoverse and like playing through the story on it. So in that game, like you're essentially playing like a time patroller that goes back and you're making sure that like all the events of the show take place
Okay.
the way it's supposed to.
It's a clever.
The
way
second
to-
game essentially does like the same thing, but like you get to create your own character though with it,
Yeah.
and it's been weird because Sparking Zero, like I really like it. The controls are like extremely refined to, like I said, the PS2 game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Xenoverse has a little more depth to it. Where like if you're playing a Namekian, which is like the green skinned aliens, like it's a little more customized. Where like if you, one of his abilities is like to be able to like stretch his body and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if like you go to hit somebody, like you'll actually see the arm like extend. I don't think they really go into that as much in Sparking Zero. So it's like, I think the Xenoverse games, like the combat has a little more depth, but Sparking Zero feels a little more like polished. If that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Yeah.
But like, what I like about the Xenoverse games is it does have that story mode, but there's like a 1-on-1 or like 3v3 like battle mode that's like essentially the same game as what Sparking Zero is. It's just, I think the first game, the roster is not as big as what Xenoverse 2 and Sparking Zero is. And I think Sparking Zero is probably the largest one so far, where they have like 180 something characters.
In the door. Yeah.
But like 20 of them are Goku.
Yeah.
Well, but hey,
And in a way it
versions
makes
of them.
sense because you're like different power transformations and different like power levels. And there's actually a bonus to starting with a character that isn't transformed yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can transform like while you're in the fight.
Okay.
So you'll get different buffs depending on which version you pick.
So if you go in with normal Goku, can you transform into any of his transformations? Because that's what I want.
I think depending on, I haven't tried that out.
And it should be
all too
some
much.
like Konami thing to like, if I want to be like
Konami code.
like Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku, I have to do some sort of combination to get that. That would be awesome.
I haven't
Like,
went too far into that. I know that while you're playing, if you hit like left on the D-pad, it'll bring up like a menu that's got like 4 different options.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how it works though, or like if you're playing with like Trunks or Go, I think you might have to actually have Trunks and Goten to be able to
Okay.
fuse together. But there's a lot of different like options like that. Like that game too has the same kind of like before the fight like cutscenes depending on which characters you pick.
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, I've got it downloaded. Noah sent me like a picture the other night, and he said, get it going. And he said, because he bought it. So I downloaded it, and I just haven't, since we've set up our living room, my PlayStation 5 has gathered dust.
So fast.
Yes.
That's the only downside about having it in the living area.
Yeah.
The control of the environment is
Like, well, mine is in my game room, but I'm like, it's the only console left in my game room. Like, I brought my PS4 Pro.
I see what
and
you're saying.
So
Okay.
like, but we've been using the living room more. So it's like, really, I need to bring it in there. But if I bring it in there, I'm really not going to use my game room for anything for right now, because we're like enjoying our living space right now.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get the Portal in the next month or two. That way I can at least
It's a good investment.
like sit on the couch and play my PlayStation.
Or just
5.
buy another PS5.
No,
I mean, that's
no,
more
no,
expensive,
no.
obviously, but
That's not gonna happen.
okay.
Ain't no need for 2. I got a PS4 Pro.
I'm
with
just saying.
I'm not trying to discourage you away from it, but then you still wouldn't be using your game room.
I know. No, I know that. It doesn't solve that problem.
Well, the PlayStation's at least still in there.
Yeah, it
when
can
there
still
are
be in-
Now
moments-
you're just not playing it natively.
yeah.
Yep.
But he will. That's
Eventually I'll make
that's
it back
the
in
idea.
there. But since we set up the living room, I took a TV off the wall that was mounted, and now there's a big hole in the wall, almost literally with holes where the mount was. So I've got to patch it all up, find a way to cut. It's just in a weird space right now. So once I get it set back up to where like it's comfortable to do that, and then I'll readapt.
Figure it out. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm sorry. Well, not sorry, but I like going off on the rabbit trail a little bit. So
I'm
thanks
sorry for spilling Dragon Ball Z at you.
No. That's what I mean, at a certain point,
You did ask for it.
No, at a certain point, I don't know what you guys are talking about, and I'm just like, okay, I bet that matters if I watch it. I'm like, oh, 200. There's 7 versions, and I'm literally looking at my mind, going, well, I guess if I was really into Superman, there's all these versions of his suit and stuff and eras and all that, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty. Cool.
You've heard Super Saiyan. There's Super Saiyan.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
You looked to
Super Saiyan 1, 2,
Threw up.
3, God, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan.
Oh yeah,
Super Saiyan.
Well, whenever they think that
Now
there's a
it's just
power
blue.
level or
No, yeah,
ceiling,
now it's just
well, I've
blue.
seen the 1-9000 meme. You know, but what the
yeah.
fuck?
Wow, that's old, bro. Really.
It's like, yeah, it's timeless. That's what
That's what's kind of funny about that one is
that
they make a
was
big point about it
then.
being over 9,000.
Dude,
but
it's in
that's
the
like
hundreds of thousands, millions now. Like
That's just
I don't even know
over
the-
9,000.
That tells me-
I don't even know the
joke.
last time they mentioned a level though.
Yeah, they quit.
It's been a while.
Oh, they're just like, it's just a lot.
Yeah, because they used to wear that thing, the Scouter. That's what Red Power. But 9,000 now is.
So I'm talking about like ancient history.
Yeah.
Now.
Honestly,
Well,
that
that's-
farmer in the very beginning
That shows how
probably
much
had
I
a
know.
9,000 by now. You know.
No, that's fair. That's funny though. But so we got some other cool topics. One of the topics is multiplayer, particularly, video game multiplayer. But like, how do you guys feel about it? Are y'all multiplayer gamers? What's your favorite type? I will say, just to open it, I'm, and I particularly think this topic we have like couch co-op versus online and stuff, and we can talk about that. But this, just generally multiplayer right now at this point in my life, it's like, cooperative, great.
Like PvE kind of.
Yeah. Like I think of Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, going through a story together. Same for like Monster Hunter. Like I'm interested. Diablo 4 even, which we'll get into that. Just that gets into my feelings of like games always being online and my distaste towards that. But and then like Smash Brothers, right, will always be one that it's like I'm never uninterested in from a multiplayer perspective. But yeah, I will say competitive. I have to I had to cut that out of my life at a certain point because like a couple of reasons. One is I take it way too seriously. Like if anyone on my team wasn't trying, if they were just there to have fun.
What was the game that did it?
Uncharted 2. And I know yeah, you're right. Like, dude, you're like,
Like, did
that even had multiplayer? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like, I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that and Killzone, like that. But that's how long it's been, right? Those are like older games.
Were you battling bad servers or like what was the
just-
loot? What was the what do you do in those multiplayer games?
Oh, it was like capture the flag. They had a mode called Plunder. So you would, 2 teams of 5 would start on the side, either side of the map, and then there was a treasure that you'd pick up. One person would pick up.
This is Uncharted.
Yeah, Uncharted 2. And they'd pick up a treasure, and then you had to get it back to your side. So it was real basic capture the flag type thing. But it was Uncharted, which was awesome, right? And then...
How did those mechanics relay into like a multiplayer setting? Though?
Excellent. Like okay, so like in the
Okay.
main game, like we can talk about this.
Trust you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that depends on if you like Uncharted or not.
Well, that's
Right.
the thing. I love those games, but I don't know if I would want to play multiplayer.
I
Those
didn't either.
controls.
But we loved it, and like okay, so for example, like what was great was so first there's all the parkour stuff, right, and that was woven perfectly into navigating the maps. Like they had the same climbing and stuff, and but like in the main game, right, if you're doing like quote unquote stealth, you can like pull down an enemy over an edge if you're hanging off it. You can do that same thing in the multiplayer if the team
To another player.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And so you would have these awesome moments where like 5 of them would be up on this like essentially a high post of an area, and you'd climb, and they'd be like, oh, they can kick you off too. So it's whoever times it better, right? It presses it first. So they kick you off, get a kill instantly, or you can pull them down. So like I had a clip for the longest time where it was like me pulling one of them down, and then another one tries to come up to kick me, and I pulled him down, and it was 5 kills in a row. Just killed the whole team, and that's hard to do. But so anyway, that was fun.
Took out the trash.
Yeah. Oh, and you're just dying laughing, and look, but if I was on the other side of that, and my team, like I just watched my team, including me, like let's say I was the first one to die, and then I watch you go and you die, and I'm screaming into the mic, just shoot him. Don't try to kick him off. And then everyone dies and we lose the match. I'd be such a jerk. I'd be like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, why? After the first 4 of us died, you know what I mean? The first 4 of us died. What point did you think, oh, hey, maybe I can get him? Like, after you just watched your entire family die. And then I'd be like, well, I was like, Right now, they're laughing at us. They've got to be. Okay, sorry, I'm not going to say that. We're stupid. So anyway, that was like my, like then hearing myself at some point and being like, okay, it's a little much, you know. But anyway, so
See,
I digress.
I'm that way with Rocket League, where like
the game with the cars and the balls.
yeah,
Okay.
mainly because
Hot
like
Wheels soccer.
it's a sports game, but it's not like traditional sports game where like you have a defined position or a defined role.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of like unwritten rules or like etiquette, so to speak, when you're playing online in a team, especially with people like just randoms, where it's like, does this person rotate around from being a goalie to being an attacker, or are you playing with a ball chaser that's like somebody that's literally just like cat and mouse with the ball the whole time instead of actually strategically figuring out where things are going to hit, where to be positioned. And like I'm not even good at it, but like sometimes like when you're, and there's a difference between just like the regular matches and then the ranked matches, because like that's where I started having issues, because like in ranked matches, just the amount of vitriol from other players that would just type in, like I don't even have time to play the game, let alone type like nasty messages out, and these people were doing it like
On top of
Taking the precious
pretty much just like
keystrokes.
out yourself, like kind of comments.
Yeah,
But,
I got you.
so probably I was playing against people like you.
You know, there were times when I said things I did not like myself.
But I would
Dude,
catch myself doing it, and I'm like, no, that's too much.
I would celebrate whenever I would get hate mail on 360 and like Halo and shit. Like when people took the
Well, it
time
means
out
you
of their
won.
day.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I made you that mad. You
Yeah.
have to go
Even if they were
find the
on my
person.
team. Even if they were on my team and they were messaging me about how bad I suck. Like that was a win to me. That was the funniest shit. Just to like see someone.
Oh, I boot people from the team.
Oh yeah.
Like if they didn't live up to the performance expectations I had, which is it's just all of that, and then eventually your score gets just this point where you're like just fighting for a kill death ratio, right? You're just like,
Yeah,
and then if it goes
that's the
over
ultimate.
1.97, oh no, I'm sucking. It's like, you know, just looking back and going.
So is what your personal goal for yourself, a 2 average? 2 KD?
Minimum.
It sounds like a 1.97. You were having a hard time.
If I got 1.97, there was problems. We got to reevaluate who's a part of the party. Why is this happening? Like, is it a skill issue? Am I rusty? Is it server connection? If it's a server connection, we can't control it. We just need to get offline right now and reboot. But yeah, no. If I started dropping below 2, I was like, okay, we can't do this. We're not going to have fun today.
You could be like...
It was real OC. I mean, I was unmedicated too at the time, so like that was a big variable.
I've known people that go as far as like turning their console completely off whenever they're having a bad game, just so it doesn't affect their KD.
Yeah, that's what I got, dude.
No.
I mean,
Now there's penalties for leaving matches. Though,
oh,
so.
they learned from us. Yeah, they realized like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. You just yank the router out of the wall.
I love that.
But yeah, so just being a part of that generation, and so yeah, I don't really.
You
play.
were playing multiplayer on games that weren't primarily multiplayer games, though, so maybe that's one thing.
I mean, sure. I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't know what I think of that. I don't, maybe
going from like, because I mean, I've enjoyed multiplayer games like Bioshock 2's multiplayer. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
it was a lot of fun, but it was a mess.
Just as messy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was such.
Or
In the
Mass
best
Effect
way.
3's multiplayer.
See, I didn't play that one. But
That
yeah.
one was a money pit because of all the loot boxes that you could get that had like better characters in them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, still a really fun multiplayer loop with like the it's kind of like Firefight, like wave based enemies, and you could unlock different people with different abilities that are all like from the game. They're biotics or whatever. But like for me, a lot like from like a multiplayer, I grew up Halo 1, Xbox, and basically begging anyone that ever came over to my house to play Halo with me. Like, if it was my parents' friends or whatever, like,
back memories.
or my uncle or like whoever. Like anytime people would come over, I was trying to get someone to come play Halo with me, and they hated playing Halo with me because I knew all the maps. I knew like where all
I'm
the shit
sure it
was. So it was
wasn't
like, yeah, it was not fun for anyone playing. I wasn't great because when I would go play with
It didn't matter.
skilled people, like we'd have LAN parties and stuff where at a buddy's house where we're doing split screen in 2 different rooms on 2 different Xbox connected, and like those were some of the best times ever. But those are also whenever you're humbled and you realize you're not. You see the standard more so, and then you take the lessons learned, and you try and like beat up your parents' friends or your uncle or whatever at Halo.
Mm-hmm.
That was an early one for me, playing Halo with like my cousins and stuff. And I remember like one of my cousins would get so mad at me because like it was pretty much like split screen Halo, and she'd get so mad. Just I'd run over on like a Warthog or something. You're not supposed to do that. I'm like, if I wasn't supposed to, they wouldn't put that mechanic in the game. And I just keep doing it. But I had another cousin that was like real bad about like screen watching.
Oh,
So,
dude. You got if you can screen sheet, you gotta screen sheet, in my opinion. And y'all can think whatever.
I'm
you
using
want.
the tools that are at my disposal.
Like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Not see that out of my peripheral vision?
Yeah, we're looking
over
at the
there?
same screen.
Oh, I just saw my character's avatar on your screen. Let me just pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, there's a red name floating over a character in my peripheral.
I'm not gonna look because of the rules. Yeah, no, sorry.
I just like some of the freedom that Halo had though, of like being able to set preset loadouts and stuff. So we'd go into matches where it's like all grab hammers,
dude,
all swords.
Fiesta.
Swords and shotties.
Halo 3 Fiesta will forever. I've spent
What was Fiesta?
10 hours straight on Guardian and the map and Halo 3.
Okay.
And Fiesta is random. You load in with a random loadout every
that's
time.
cool. Yeah,
So all the weapons are on the wheel.
gets you good with everything.
And yeah, it gets you good with everything, and also like you would have truces whenever you would spawn with rockets. Like you would try and start to make truces, or like even like ban rockets. Like, okay, no rockets. If you get rockets, don't use them. But then you'd spawn with a rocket launcher and a fuel rod cannon. And you're like, well, lesser of two evils.
Yeah. One of my favorite creations, and this is from my Master Chief collection. So this is after I'm an adult, essentially. But like the Forge mode in it, and like you can create maps and stuff like that. But I found this way where like you could take like there was like a base like grass, like ground texture that you could like turn vertical, and I would put it up all the way around the map, and you could even like close it in and like put this orb of light up in the top to like make this nighttime map. And I made it just like this little small arena that just had random trees popped in, and it was just like I made like the loadout like a shotgun or something, so it was like shotguns in the woods at night, and it was just like one of the funnest game modes I ever created.
It is, yeah.
It was so fun.
Forge. We used to, like, on a lot of the Halo games, we used to like create our own maps back in the day. Now I couldn't even imagine putting that time into it. But like we used to do some really cool shit, making like random symmetrical maps or whatever.
I kind of want to download it again to see if it's still there, because I don't know if it is.
Is that Halo 3?
No, Master Chief Collection.
Oh, okay.
It was on but that specific map I think was on. It might have been Halo 2.
Halo 2 is the one I played the most. I think I think a lot of us.
Some of the best moments in it.
I think Halo 3 at that point, Halo wasn't the only kid on the block at that point, like with shooters and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not that it probably wasn't the best or anything. It's just I remember the same screen co-op of Halo 2. Not co-op. Well, co-op, but the multiplayer.
So you remember the worst co-op? I don't know if you may not remember it to be, but
barely.
Halo 2's co-op, if you played on Legendary, it naturally had the Iron Skull on.
We didn't play on Legendary. Yeah, we were never
Then
that
you
good.
didn't play Halo. No,
Were you actually playing
Thanks,
Halo?
Reddit.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
Halo 2's Legendary, though, had the one of the most difficult skulls. That it's like a difficulty multiplier that you can add.
Yeah,
on.
I remember those.
In all the other Halo games, Iron Skull says if both of you die, you restart from the checkpoint instead of restart. Yes, restart from the checkpoint. But in Halo 2, you restart the mission when one person dies. So if your teammate dies and you're still up, you can't run to like.
Yeah, don't even. I'm not interested in that
Yeah.
shenanigans.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of everyone I knew. See, I didn't.
I think that might be why I'm so like calloused with like getting game raging, because I've put myself through every Halo game on Legendary, solo and co-op, and like
Yeah.
endless bullshit on bullshit on bullshit.
See, we could have a whole conversation about your psychological disorder with game difficulty, because when you talk about putting it on like the hardest difficulty, I'm like, what's wrong with him? Like, why is he doing this to himself? Like, don't you have bills to pay? Like,
I can
isn't
point my
life hard
fingers.
enough? And then when you tell me you're on these hard difficulties, I'm just like, that's.
I'm playing the way
What did
the
you
game
do?
the way they designed
Who
it.
did you hurt? Yeah.
It should say recommended next to hard.
Well,
You know?
yeah.
You know?
I mean that and that's probably true.
Also, Kingdom, I can blame that on Legendary and Halo and Kingdom Hearts Pride mode, where you get specific cutscenes if you beat the game on the hardest difficulty that you don't get if you don't play it on that difficulty.
Yeah, but
There's
FOMO.
But now we have YouTube.
Yeah, but that I didn't
Now I
earn it.
can watch them.
we have.
I didn't earn it on YouTube. That's such a cash out.
Because see, I'm the exact opposite now. Where like most narrative games I play on the easiest setting.
Not, I play on the normal. I
There-
think for the most.
I mean, and it depends. Like with
shame.
with
I mean, to each throw.
with Ghost of Tsushima, like it's.
Thank you, Sam.
I've actually cranked the difficulty up on it, but
Yeah, you.
But yeah, it's like there's part of it where like if I die too many times within this area, and it pulls me out of following the narrative, especially if I've got to watch the same cutscene like a million times, and I can't skip it, something like that. Or with like God of War, for instance, it's like there's a level of like power fantasy there where it's like Kratos ain't getting killed by just this low level enemy. So I should be able to kill it with one hit. So like, I don't know. It's very game dependent, but generally,
Not for this psychopath.
It is more game dependent. Like
What game are you playing on easy?
I don't play games.
Well,
on easy.
rest my
I
case.
do not play games
It
on
depends
easy.
on shit.
It is a psychological battle to play. To
Part
start it on
of it-
normal.
part of it's being an adult and not having time to replay certain levels.
I'm still
a
trying to
million
come to
times.
terms with that thought.
I think it comes down to like if there's stuff you don't get in the game, like you made. That's a great point about Kingdom Hearts. Like, okay, if you're missing content, or let's say
There's too much to miss in those games too. Like I feel like you're missing a lot more than like a post credit scene whenever.
in those games,
in those-
yes,
and
but most games nowadays, you can get all the content, even the trophies. Most of the trophies, which we could argue if that's cool if they do that or not. Which I think it's kind of not. Like, you beat the game at any difficulty. you
like
get
I was
platinum.
saying, I'm playing BioShock, and I started on hard because I wanted to get the hard, normal, and easy mode achievements all at one time.
Oh, yeah?
And then you unlock 1999 mode, but I'm not gonna get that hard mode achievement now because I fucking doofed it back down to.
Yeah, so
normal
like
mode.
like I hate that hardest mode trophy, but at least give me the standard difficulty, 100%.
Get yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, I digress. But okay, but like multiplayer. So like for me, I think multiplayer just kind of it's like one of my least of modern gaming. It's one of my least favorite things about gaming, and I don't just mean like it's got a multiplayer mode, but just like what I want. Like Ghost of Tsushima, I know that even has a multiplayer, but like that type of game is what I want to play. Hogwarts Legacy, action adventure, single player, narrative driven, like lots to collect, the character progression, like. But then you have like a free to play multiplayer. Like I can't tell you how much I don't want to play that game, like a
Yeah,
pure waste of time.
Yeah.
Like and I know it doesn't. I know I'm like wrong for that. Like if you play whatever you want, but it's like, yeah.
So what if Silk Song comes out.
Oh Jesus!
And
I'm mad already. I'm mad. I'm already mad about this question. But go
We're
ahead.
already throwing out a hypothetical.
Yeah.
There
Like
right? Yeah,
you
it may
just
not
said-
happen.
You could
I
have
get
just said
it.
Silk Song and looked at me with your smug little face, and I would have been mad. But anyway,
So Silk Song comes
okay,
out.
it came out,
and it has a multiplayer mode.
well, okay. Keep going. How mad do you want me to get?
That's it. I want you to.
Would you play it?
It has
would
a
you
multi-
play it?
That would depend.
Is it if it
That
was
would absolutely depend.
what if it was like a competitive to a certain extent? I don't know what like mechanic they could do for Hollow Knight to make it like they did the Castlevania game on the 360, Harmony of Despair. That was like multiplayer.
They had
Like
multiplayer.
multiple of you could like jump around and be on the same and work together to go through it, or you could like
Well-
I think you could fight each other too.
I mean, so first of all, I have contempt for the fact that they added multiplayer to Hollow Knight Silk Song. Okay, so let's just start there.
Yeah, that's what took it so long.
Already,
Let's.
that's why. That's why I'm pissed. I'm just like, oh, okay. This is why there was no news for 3 years. Okay, cool. Thanks, Australia. So there's already contempt there, and then I'm already starting to think about how much time did it take, and how much are they going to invest into this post game, and how much is the future ruined of the series because of this? Like, those are all the initial
like,
thoughts.
the story is mostly focused on like the multiplayer loop.
Yeah. So,
Would you play it?
what? No, not a spin. No. Now that you're establishing these guardrails of, hey, everything you do in the 5-hour single player feeds into the unlimited, never-ending multiplayer. Yeah, no, I would be disgusted. Not only would I be disgusted, I'd have conspiracy theories about why it happened. I would be like, this is part of an agenda to like destroy America and all this different stuff. That's how I'd feel about it. Now, I will put it this way: I will give anything a chance. But when I say that, I don't really mean it. What I mean is when I say give it a chance, it means like I'll look at it and make judgments. And if there's an opportunity that I'll make those judgments, and I'll be like, okay, that could work. But that the chances of that are pretty rare. I'm gonna look at it and go, yeah, no, that sucks. Like, I'm still mad about Dragon Age Inquisition, and I've had people tell me,
Dude, for real.
I've had people tell me that it's great.
Same.
And I'm like, and they're like, well, didn't you get a full game? And you're like, well, I'll never know, will I? They added a multiplayer. Maybe.
The multiplayer wasn't super necessary that's a whole other rabbit hole. But the multiplayer, it was trying to ride the coattails of like what Mass Effect 3 was doing.
It just didn't need it.
No, it did not need it. It didn't need a lot of things that it did, but that's fine.
But how do you guys feel? How do you guys feel? They added multiplayer to Final Fantasy. Let's say they do add it to Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 3.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Jesus, you disgust me.
I probably wouldn't play it.
I
actually might, now that I'm talking about it. If it's like the game.
What would the loop be though? Like,
if it was, it would. I just think of Dissidia.
I think of just the game already, but one of us is playing as Cloud, one's playing as
Final Fantasy Dissidia.
I know of it, but
it's their fighter game. It's literally a multiplayer.
You mean like an actual? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like that's what kind
like
of
Soul Calibur, like fighting.
Yeah,
I was thinking like cooperative. I think cooperative could actually
cooperative?
totally work.
That would be cool.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Because that would be like essentially what we're doing with Dark.
Cooperative games. It's competitive multiplayer, right?
Mostly.
Yeah.
But we're going back to the Hollow Knight example.
If Hollow Knight was co-op,
I would still get prickly. I would be like, I'd be like, because it's just not what it is. And I would even feel that way initially about like it was Final Fantasy in theory.
If it was PvP Final Fantasy, I wouldn't play it. Okay. If it was like what we're doing with Dark Souls, I would love that.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
That could actually. Well, that's a bad example. Then I need to think of something that's more. I don't know.
I think I hit the nail on the head with Silk Song being.
Oh, you did. It's like, why'd you say that?
The way your body just like physically cringe.
I can see
it's just the best because there's all this baggage already. With
I know.
Like, and then you're like, oh, it's got multiplayer. Yeah, I know. It's like that's some heinous crap right there.
I think part of like where like my stance on multiplayer comes from is I was like my multiplayer career in games was forged on the Xbox 360. And those fires were Halo 3, Modern Warfare 2,
Those chats were just cesspools.
Yes, 100%. And I had Lucas and
yeah,
Noah
yeah.
there right there beside me to help.
can
You
imagine.
know,
That's where
like,
racism was born. I think, was online gaming.
but like, so I don't know. I love the shit talking and the like. I don't know, just the random bullshit that comes with that. I don't really know where I was going with it.
You like but
I do like multiplayer
You like
games.
competitive multiplayer.
Yeah, I like competitive multiplayer games. I agree with like anytime anything says it's free to play now, I immediately am just like, no. It's just because one, they're all this. I say the same. There's nothing fresh and new about any of them. I tried the off the grid one that just came out, and I can't do it.
I tried it on PC and I didn't like it.
No, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm a lot more hesitant with multiplayer games like that. I've found a pocket, and I like to just stay in the pocket of what's comfortable, because starting at the bottom of something else is just, I don't know. I don't have the time for it now. I like to stick to things that I've got a little bit more experience in, unless it's just something cool. I'm not saying something could come out of left field and be like, holy shit, that looks fucking awesome. The idea behind off the grid looked neat, but
I was instantly turned off of it just because of the crypto, like currency, NFT stuff.
yeah, that was weird.
In theory, it's cool, but I'm also not one to want to like, if it's like a skin you have that other players can't access, like you own it.
Yeah,
I don't really like that. Like, that's the one issue I have, like battle passes and stuff. It's like that's like the big conversation around Fortnite right now. Is like all of their previous battle passes, like you had to play during that season to get those skins. And then now going forward, there are certain skins in the battle pass that they're going to at a later time bring back to the shop.
Yeah.
I like that. Like I don't want to ever like handcuff anybody else. Be like, man, because you didn't play back then, you can't have the skin that I've got. Like, how does that affect my enjoyment
Well, that's
of the
another
game?
turnoff though for me, is that time stuff. Where it's
Yeah.
like, what if
Yeah.
I do get
Well,
into it today?
and I think Halo is. I mean, there's other games that do it, but I think Halo has like the best approach to this, where you can still access any of the battle passes from before the current season. You just have to toggle which one your progress is being funneled towards.
Okay.
And that's like the best. So far, that seems like the best model. But I don't know, with like online multiplayer, like it definitely like comes and goes like in seasons for me, where like 2 or 3 months at a time I'm like heavy into it. And I'm definitely like pulling back from it a lot more than what I have in the past. To where now, like between like Hunt or Fortnite's probably the only ones I'll play, and Fortnite's more so because my son plays it. So it's something we can play together. And it's been like the best execution of having all your action figures together and playing with them. So like, and it's just like so varied too, because it could be Dragon Ball. Like they're starting to add in like Disney villains. Got Kratos and Master Chief in the same game.
yeah.
So like,
I think
I
that's
know,
cool.
I know, like there's
Yeah.
some like purists that like have issues with that, but I think it's cool because it reminds me of like being a kid and playing with those different action figures from like different.
I'm thankful that there is something like Fortnite like that, because it's definitely done a lot for just gaming in general too, and like the focus on gaming, and like the public eye. Like I feel like it's put a lot more on like the map as far as like making gaming a modern thing that everyone does.
I can agree with that.
And how many people that like don't even look like gamers, but they play Fortnite. They're very familiar with all the different shit to Fortnite.
There's not just one way to play. Like you don't have to play the battle royale.
Yeah.
Like to the point now
There's like
where
hundreds of game modes.
they added in a racing game. They added in
Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero game. There's creative where you can kind of make your own maps. So like, my son likes to play like these speed runs that are like obstacle courses essentially.
It just makes me think of Halo
So-
3 custom games.
Yeah.
Like we used to play custom games on Halo 3 all the time that were just like rat race and just random
like-
modifications on it.
Like, here's a problem I have though, is like connecting with a game that doesn't have a single player campaign. Like for you guys, do you have like this is the problem I have is I could love the multiplayer, right, and think it's great and just be like it's like some of the most fun I've ever had. But as far as like place in my mind of being like, okay, is it up there with Legend of Zelda? Is it up there with BioShock single player? Like for me, it never gets there if it's multiplayer. No matter how much fun I had, it doesn't get that special place in my mind that like it's like a rank below. Like, do you guys? So when I think of Fortnite, it's like it could be the most fun, but like when like the single player something isn't there for some reason, it's less of a thing to
It
me.
had a single player mode in the very beginning.
Yeah,
Didn't
it
it?
was like a tower
Save the
defense.
world.
It was like almost like a tower
With like an
defense.
actual
Yeah.
progression and narrative.
Like, that was
There
the
is
paid
a narrative
version.
to it too.
Well-
though. But you have to unlock it through playing like the battle pass, right? And
Yeah.
like
That's
getting through that
fun,
shit
yeah,
and like
so-
understand, like, because I remember at one point the map changed and like there is a narrative there, but it's locked behind doing all that stuff through the multiplayer
I
to kind
gotcha.
of figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like how Hunt is too. There's no story to it. God, I wish there was. I wish there was because
Well, exactly.
whenever I am like drawn to something like that, I would love for there to be more of a story to follow rather than have to dig for all the pieces.
They tried to do that with the newest battle pass, didn't they? Where they like put in like codexes and stuff.
They've done that with almost all the.
It's
all
just
of them.
it's hard for me to get.
Yeah, you
invested
go,
in
you
that.
progress, you level up the battle pass, and then you unlock like a little story codex that you can have read to you, which is fine, but I would much more rather like a story that gives a lot of these awesome hunters better context
Yeah.
as to like their involvement in the world. So like I agree, like it is harder. Honestly, it surprises me that I like it so much because I've fallen out of more modern multiplayer games, and I don't know, something with the like Souls like extraction shooter is what I call that, because it's just got that like it's harder. It's got more of a curve to it to get used to. If it had, the only thing it's missing is having like a campaign. Because I can't think of a good example. I was trying to think of it a second ago, but like whenever some of the games that I was playing like leaned more into multiplayer and stopped doing story modes, didn't one of the Call of Duties do that, or maybe
Yeah, there was one of the Call of Duties that completely dropped having a campaign.
Battlefield.
Period.
Wasn't one of the more recent ones too?
it may have been, but
It was not Modern Warfare, but Advanced Warfare, maybe.
yeah, I remember when that happened.
Future or Advanced Warfare, something like that.
Because the Call of Duty campaigns up to a certain point, like especially the Black Ops ones.
I stopped after the
Titanfall?
first.
I remember
stopped
that.
after the first.
Oh yeah,
That was a big moment where it was like, oh no, we're not doing a single player. Then they
Yeah.
did a single player this next game, and it was like supposed to be one of the best single players ever. Like first,
I didn't play the first Titanfall, but I played the second one.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it.
Titanfall 1 was my first experience
a
on the
cool-
Xbox
yeah.
One.
That was a cool experience. That was a
Yeah.
cool game.
But yeah, like I definitely more prefer, like personally like stories. I like the story, but I get more joy out of the camaraderie I get playing a multiplayer game. I don't like playing multiplayer games if I don't have a party playing them. It's hard for me to like. I can do it with Hunt because I don't know. I like the pain I get from that, I guess. But like, I can't. It's hard for me to sit and play like a Battlefield or Call of Duty, which I'm not really a super fan of, but like, or even Halo, like multiplayer at this point. Like, I don't like sitting down by myself and playing that. I want a group of friends to go through it with me.
Yeah.
And if we're doing that, I can have fun. Just
Yeah.
torturing myself by getting killed over and over and over by myself will kill my attention span real fast.
That's mainly why I've like pulled away from a lot of online multiplayer, is just because it's not fun unless I have a group. And part of that's just growing older and being an adult, like having people that can be on the same schedule with stuff like that. And I think another aspect of it too is just the skill gap. Where before there's like a lot of games where like pretty much everybody's on the same level, but like now there's people that like a lot of these multiplayer games, like some people make this one game their life, and if you're not on the same skill as them, especially if it's
The
like
ranking is
directives
just a
like
disaster. Yeah.
competitive, like it's just not fun.
Yeah.
See, back in the day, whenever like single player games that had like a multiplayer aspect to them, that like Uncharted, never knew that had multiplayer. we used to play a game, Transformers Fall of Cybertron.
Oh, that was a big deal when that was
multiplayer for that, bro. My buddy Lucas was in the top like 50 people in the world on the leaderboards. Like, we had so much fun playing that game, and it was one of those like just off random games that had a multiplayer to it.
Yeah,
like I would kill for that to happen again. Like that game was insanely awesome. Yeah, very fluid, and I remember like when what was it? What's the game that was everyone's biggest disappointment? Anthem.
Oh, jeez.
I remember when that came out thinking like this is gonna be like the closest it's gonna feel to like Transformers War for Cybertron, with like the fluid flying to landing to all the like motion stuff that you can do.
I think a part of the shame with that is that the gameplay itself was actually good,
dude.
It was just they didn't have content to like keep it up.
They rushed it out.
It's like they delivered the mechanics of the game, and you're like, oh great, can't wait to see this when in a game.
I wish they would just reuse some of the stuff from that for something else.
Dude, the mech customization or the whatever they call them, were they spears or something?
Exosuits,
javelins.
Javelins, yeah. There you go.
And there were so many good things in principle about that game, like the engine, the mechs themselves, the music, and some of the ideas for the story and stuff. It was like they just ran out of they just needed like 2 more years to like build the game, the actual like narrative and structure of the game. But yeah, that game, dude, I pre-ordered it, and then like I remember the reviews started dropping, and I was like, now I want to refund this. And it was I've played the game probably 2 hours and paid like $80 for that edition. But anyway, that's something. After that, I was like, I will never pre-order an EA game.
Yeah. Ever
again. I'm even scared to this day. I know we're going off a little bit different direction. I'm scared to this day, even in part looking at Dragon Age. Not because it doesn't look great, not because there's a multiplayer, which I don't. Is there a multiplayer? I don't think there is.
They haven't talked about it.
But I'm still like, it doesn't matter how good it looks. They can screw you over. They cannot deliver. It's like they might give you those chapters they showed, and everything between that could just be a totally different experience. But anyway, I digress.
I think now though, as far as multiplayer goes, especially with my kids getting older, like my youngest is just now to a point where like she can play games, and so like we've been like real heavy on like couch co-op games. So like the past month or so, like she's been like real heavy on Mario Kart, and it's funny like the dynamic between the two kids, because one that's like he's almost 10 and she just turned 5, and like she finishes in 12th place every time, but she's having the most fun possible. And
I'm jealous.
And my 10-year-old, he's finishing like 4th or 5th, and like it's almost to the point of crying because he's not winning. Yeah. And then there was like this meme I sent my wife a couple weeks ago where it was like the wife's like, hey, be easy on the kids in this game, and like when it comes to Mario Kart, it's like I'm Dale Earnhardt. I can't let somebody win.
100%.
So like I'm winning. If I'm not winning every race, I'm in second.
Yeah.
So, that's a good point, though. Like, multiplayer games, just like from a personal development perspective, they've made me they make you look at yourself and how you handle failure. So now, especially when you do watch your kids and how they react, you're like, it doesn't matter. And you're trying to convince them of it.
But you're over here pissed the fuck off.
Well, I've gotten a little better about
Silk Song has multiplayer.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But that's a whole nother. It is a whole nother story. That's I weren't going to open that back up. But like Mario Kart, like to me, it's hilarious if you are in first now, and then you go to 12th, like 1 foot in front of that finish line. Doesn't make me mad for sure, but it's absolutely hilarious seeing you just get wrecked with like blue shell, red shell, red shell, red shell, banana peel. Then like flipped back, and then it's like, how did this even happen? Like, it's hilarious.
That's like one of the mechanics I was going to, like, I had like bullet pointed for last week's conversation about bad mechanics. I hate the rubber banding in Mario Kart.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
Like, I get why it's there, but it's also kind of bull crap that you could be.
Dale Earnhardt.
I could be leading for 99% of this race and get one blue shell in the last 2 or 3 seconds and lose. Like it's irritating.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, the pity items it gives the people in last place.
Yeah, Bullet Bill.
The bullet bill and the blue shell.
Once they had a Bullet Bill, it changed the whole game. I feel like. I mean, they always had the blue shell and stuff, but now more than ever,
Just launches you to the front.
dude. You're
What
just,
kind of crap is that?
like I
Makes you want to be in the back on purpose.
sometimes you need to be when you're in eighth. You're like, maybe I just slow down a little bit. I'm about to hit this box, but yeah.
But yeah, it's like Mario Kart, and then we've all been trying to like we try to do like some kind of like day during the week for gaming for all of us to play together, and so it's either like Mario Kart or we've also been into Mario Party a lot, and
The new one.
no, we haven't played the new one. I think we got is it 8?
Is Jamboree the new one?
Yeah, Jamboree's one just came
Superstar, I
out.
think, is the one before that, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, there was Superstars, which was like I think a combination of mini games from all the older ones. But I think the one we have it's like Super Mario Party, which is the first one they released for the Switch.
Yeah.
But we have fun going through it. The only problem we have is with my daughter being as young as she is, like she'll just decide like halfway through like playing, I don't want to play anymore. And I'm like, well, we can't just quit. But no, that's been fun, and I mean, I also like playing Smash, but man, your kids humbled me in that. Where it's like, I feel like I'm competent, and then the first time I played over here with them, I'm like, no, I'm not good at all.
But those psychopaths are. Odin is practicing.
He's in there right now.
He's
like Phantom.
Yeah, just like the controllers are levitating off the ground, and he's just like got his eyes rolling in the back of his head. But he's watching YouTube videos in his free time, how to do infinite combos and stuff. Yeah, people like him ruin the game.
No, I do like for Smash. I do have like a main that I use, but like I'm also the type of person that's like I like variety. So like I never get too good with one player just because I don't stick with it enough. Like I like playing with different characters all the time. So I never play any of them enough to really get good at them.
Yeah, I'm not consistent with games like that. Like Mario Kart. I know I'm pretty good at. Like anytime I pick it up, I talk all the shit that I want to before I pick up the controller and follow through with the shit talk.
Yep.
So like, I don't know, but I'm sure there's definitely like I'm sure I could be humbled, but up to this point, it's like I don't know. I've really enjoyed that.
Have you played the kids yet?
No.
We
But
need to have
with
that happen.
Smash,
Yeah.
I won't do it. Like I remember playing Fighters. The last time I played Fighters was with Jackson, and he's doing the thing that he does whenever he's getting chicken dinners in freaking Fortnite. When he's like not even looking at the screen and talking to you, and he's like, "Oh, I won!" Like with Fighters, and he's never played this game before or doesn't know the button combinations, and he's just popping off ults after ult after ult after ult. And
they're doing things in these games I didn't even know were possible. Like Odin's figured out how to like get you off the level, right? Which is the point of Smash, right?
And then keep you in the air.
No. That'd be that. I've trained for that. No, we're talking spikes. He knows how to punch you down perfectly.
He spikes you off the
Yeah,
side.
he throws you and then he punches you down or whatever with every character with perfect accuracy and timing to where like you're just literally life gone. Already you're behind by a life now. And then you're like, okay, I gotta beat this guy.
0%.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. 0%. Oh, dude. And it's so bad. Like, he's gotten to the point, I just gotta rant on this for me. He's gotten to the point now where it's like, it's not, am I gonna win? It's, am I gonna win as much as I want? So, like, now.
if you can get into the red,
dude,
it's
no.
a win, right? 300% a win.
Yeah. If we, well, no. Oh, dude, yeah, 300% would be a win if I got that on him. No, we're at the point now where it's like, we're playing, and if I hit him first, he goes, I lost. Like that's the craziness I'm playing with here in this game, and I'm like, so he's going for a level of excellence that is just like, I'm like, so dude, the amount of mental calories I have to burn to like even reasonably defeat him in that game, or even Milo. If Milo's playing as Kirby, you just like take your antidepressants in advance. Like it's so heinous. Just the stuff he does. They've hacked the games. They've learned that he sucks you in as Kirby, jumps off the level, shoots you out of his mouth, and goes back. And you're like, well, I guess we're done. I mean, what else? And then he laughs maniacally at it and stuff. So anyway,
see, I'm a simple man. My main is Ness, and I just like there's like a good feeling like when you just like hold the baseball bat back and like knock somebody out into oblivion.
I like that with
Marth. That's like the comfort food for me. Just like that feeling of doing that.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, I'm not like.
Imagine never landing that hit with that bat ever again.
Oh, I know.
That's the experience I've been having with Smash. Like it's just having to rethink how I play the game. So I love like Smash Brothers to me is the best multiplayer game ever. And I could argue that if anyone said, there's other game. For me, I could be like, no, I think Smash is just it's awesome for so many reasons, but like that's the game for me that defines what I want out of a multiplayer experience. But it's also specifically the couch co-op. The online, I hate it. There's lag. The lag is so profoundly bad on Nintendo servers, and maybe it's the system is underpowered itself, right? Yeah. But I can't.
Well, that's like primarily why, like growing up, I mostly played sports games, so there was a lot of like couch co-op with that. But I specifically won't touch like any sports game online now, mainly due to that latency issue of. Because at some point it doesn't feel like, for better or for worse, like you're not on a level playing field as everybody.
No, and maybe everybody's having the lag, but that's the thing is like I don't want to switch between how the game feels by myself and then knowing okay, I got to re-strategize how quick I press the button, knowing that it's going to take a second for it to get phoned into the server. Yeah,
it's weird because like shooters have the same issue, but like I don't know. I don't ever process it the same.
It's interesting.
As far as like the interaction with other players. But if I'm playing like a basketball game and I hit square to shoot and it takes my character 2 or 3 seconds to go through that animation because of latency or something, I'm just like mentally checked out at that point. Like this isn't working the way it's supposed to. So I don't play sports games online at all anymore.
Yeah.
I would play things like Smash, or I feel like me and Kana need to step up the Mario game again, because like when I got the Switch, I was like, this is going to be the ultimate. Like everything I had downloaded was multiplayer options, like anything for whatever, and we ended up just not playing them nearly as much. I was playing Smash by myself to unlock characters, and to like just to. And like I wanted to get more into the story. That seemed cool. Like the level traversal that like lets you unlock different characters and stuff, or like the different ways you can unlock characters. I thought it was neat. But I think just because the only reason I don't play it as much is just not having anyone to play it with regularly to stay on top of it with. We play games like we were playing the Mickey's Illusion Island, which was fun, and that was like Ollie's intro to platforming, which is hilarious to see her like try and jump up to something like a platform up here and like literally moving the controller and like doing this with it to try and jump up there until she got it. But like she struggles being consistent with that, so like we don't play it as much just because like it just ends up pissing her off and discouraging her, so I don't want to like put her through that.
That was one of Arya's first as well, but like the last time we played it though was like right when it came out, and I'm curious to see like what level she'd be at now playing it.
Kanan, her first game, Kanan's got her playing Kingdom Hearts. She just showed her how to lock onto the enemies, and she knows what button is to fight, and she's good with that.
Another one like similar, well, not necessarily platformer, but another one couch co-op like that that I've really enjoyed was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. Like it, I know I've said it before, but it's like strictly like a spiritual successor to Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo, which is like probably like top 5 like my favorite games of all time. Like anytime I ever download an emulator or something, that's the first game I download. Like all throughout college, like every cell phone I had that I downloaded an emulator for, that was the first game I get.
Was the Turtles in Time on 360 a remake? Because that's the one I played.
Yeah, it was on like arcade, Xbox Arcade.
I loved that one, but
I
don't know how good it was compared to the first.
I don't remember. I don't know if I played it.
It's the 1989.
I mean, I know what it looks like, but I don't remember playing it. It was definitely like a. I don't know if it was remastered, but it definitely had like a different art style that they kind of like redid. But I think the mechanics of the game were all the same.
Do you guys have? And I don't have too many, but do you guys have any memories of like arcade multiplayer? Like I know those weren't huge when we were kids, but there were still movie theaters and stuff, and
like a legitimate arcade.
Yeah.
I remember playing like Mortal Kombat a little bit, but not enough.
Mortal Kombat 3 machine.
That was another one of those games where like I like various characters, and when you've got to do like a 5 or 6 button combination input to do a certain move.
Yeah.
No,
it's hard for me to keep up.
Now, like Dave & Buster's and Halo and Mario Kart are in the arcade, so what else do you need, you know?
Yeah, those are like the best games.
The Halo one that they've got actually coincides with the Halo 1 story. So like you see Halo 1 kind of happen in front of you.
That's
like you're just a different perspective.
That's neat.
It's like the first hallway Master Chief is like jumping across before he gets his gun. Like you're one of the people in the hallway shooting down the hall that he runs across in front of you. Funny. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's neat.
But with Shredder's Revenge, that was like one of the first games, like between Jackson and Bryson. Like we all played together and like beat it within a day or so, because the campaign's not all that long, but just being able to do like a beat 'em up like that together, it's real fun, especially it being one of my favorite games, and being able to like kind of give my son that same experience that I had as a kid. And that there was a Power Rangers game that was on Super Nintendo that was like in the same vein, and so like after Shredder's Revenge came out, I was like, man, it'd be cool if like they did that with the Power Rangers game. And then it's supposed to be sometime this year, which they haven't given a release date yet, but they're actually doing that with a Power Rangers game. And it's like the same like pixel art style, and so I'm ready for that to come out.
Yeah.
Couch co-op for me, I'm like I enjoy like Resident Evil 5 was a couch co-op game for me.
And that was a good one.
I had so much fun, and now it's the most like quotably bad couch co-op game.
Sheva,
Chris, I'm coming. Yeah, over here. But like I enjoyed that game co-op and had so much fun with it.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That was the first game me and Brandy played through together when we were dating.
That's awesome.
And it was a disaster.
Yes.
And it was so much fun and hilarious. I laughed so hard playing that.
Yeah, it was and just all the stupid action moments through that game that are just so incredibly dramatic.
So stupid.
It's a very stupid game.
I would love to watch you two like play that, and I could just watch you guys.
Still one of my favorites, though. Still one of my like. It surprises people when I say that. It's probably my second favorite Resident Evil game.
I think it's underrated. just real
because
quick. Because too, it's like I feel like it had all the gameplay and quality of like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
But they really executed the multiplayer to where you didn't feel like you were getting ripped off. Like I was telling you earlier, I usually don't like if they add multiplayer, right? But that was one where they added it, and it still felt just as good as a single player. Kind of like with the Gears of War games, I think that they do a really good job of that too. But it didn't detract at all from like the fact that there was narrative or documents to pick up or progression. But yeah, that's a great game.
Castle Crashers.
Never played Castle Crashers.
Castle Crashers was a lot of fun. It was just silly. just a stupid game where you could like you level up your character and like keep your power ups and like you could. So if you worked on one character for so long and that was your best character, like it keeps all of its its abilities and stuff. But I played that back in the 360. So like when I think of arcade, I never enjoyed like an actual arcade that much, but the Xbox arcade and stuff, like using Microsoft points to build that library up, like I did play a lot of that stuff. So like Aegis Wing and
Oh wow. Yeah.
what the freaking Dorito Dino game, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I'm curious if either you have like a similar history with it, but like I kind of like growing up, I kind of played Grand Theft Auto as a couch co-op game in a way.
Like pass the controller.
Yeah, where it's like we make house rules. Like if you die, you switch to you pass the controller on, or if you damage a car or whatever. But like that's pretty much like before I was able to like follow the story missions of it. That's how we played Grand Theft Auto, and even back further than that, like the Driver on PlayStation 1.
I remember Driver.
That's how we like, especially on Driver. There's like one area where I think you can like find a like special muscle car that's like in a baseball stadium or whatever. And it's like we'd spend like hours trying to get there, and then. But yeah, did y'all have anything like that where it wasn't specifically a multiplayer game, but like where you shared controller, like taking turns or something?
My original experience with GTA was that San Andreas.
That's
Like,
interesting.
At one of the guy I grew up with, like learned to skate with, we'd go to his house and he would have Grand Theft Auto, and that was like where I learned that is not my type of game, but it was enjoyable like in those moments. It wasn't anything that I ever wanted to like play by myself, and I've tried with each of the ones that have come out after it, but that, like what I was saying, like I'm not used to doing that with like too many games, but now like when Ollie's interested in something we're playing and just handing her the controller and like letting her figure it out, like I'm enjoying that, like watching her play Kingdom Hearts, or we started a playthrough of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, and she's playing through that and enjoying it and like getting the motion down for the like actual throw of the ball. But no, it's funny because like similarly that was how I like was introduced to Grand Theft Auto.
That's
funny. Like, here, try this, and like you can show me cheat codes where you could spawn in any vehicle you wanted, like a chopper or the Rhino or big head mode, stupid stuff like that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games were like that a lot, where like me and my stepdad would play and just pass the controller back and forth. Because I hated
they did have a split screen, but I hated playing it because not only was your TV already a 4:3, so like your split screen's like barely like the smallest sliver of the screen that you could have. So I always hated doing that. So
but it had those 2-minute runs. So like you do the run, try and get everything, and pass the controller, and like the next person.
It was an easy, because especially as growing up with like a lot of cousins and stuff, there was always people fighting over turns and stuff like that, where it's like Tony Hawk had a defined time limit of like, this is your turn. So that was always nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Brandon, like that passing the controller and stuff like that, because I'd forgotten about that. That's still multiplayer, even if it's not a multiplayer game. And I think also, I was trying to think like why I didn't think of that, and I think it's because we were right on the cusp of internet like getting dropped right until like when we're 8-9 years old, and all of a sudden being incorporated into everything, right? So that kind of went away really quick, but we were there when it was happening. But yeah, I remember Crash Bandicoot.
Oh yeah,
that was one right with as a multiplayer. You know, it just you die, you pass it, you die, you pass it.
But there was like bragging rights over like who completed the level.
Yeah, you get to put your initials. Or whatever. Didn't you get to put your initials?
There were some games like that.
Yeah, I thought it Crash, maybe not.
Me and my sister did Crash Bandicoot a lot.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
But that and Mario Brothers 3, I remember, like on the original NES, and I didn't by any means play it near when it came out or anything, but we were given an NES with a bunch of games and Duck Hunt, and everyone had that Duck Hunt Mario combo cartridge. Yeah. But Mario Brothers 3, I remember specifically when my cousins came to visit from Florida, we played through that game and just passed the controller between like 4 or 5 people, and yeah, those are great memories.
I feel like my brother and I did that with Super Mario World. Mm-hmm. And I still kind of remember the first time like he put on the cape and just like flew across the map.
And you're just like,
I'm like, that's possible?
Yeah. Those were great. See, we have to talk about just those kind of moments, and like those are fundamental gaming moments. I remember, when you get the P-Wing in Mario Brothers 3 or whatever, the Princess Wing, and you can fly, and you're like I was just like blown away. I mean, it was just different with not having any accessibility to like share knowledge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's like it's who you knew or word of mouth, and that goes slow. And I don't miss it necessarily by any means, because I like being able to go on the internet and go like, how do you get through this dungeon? And once you've spent a day on it,
you don't want to go back to that kind of like way that you got your knowledge, but at the same time, I miss that kind of slow drip too.
Yeah,
because there's too much of an overload of knowledge now.
Yeah, we're definitely spoiled.
Yeah, well, it's changed how we play games too. Mm-hmm. Like, changed what I feel like I need to prioritize, like what I'm willing to spend time on. Like, there's only so much time I'm willing to figure out a puzzle in a game. Mm-hmm. You know, especially if it's like Tomb Raider. Press these symbols.
I check out on puzzles in games way too soon now. Like, if I can't figure it out, I'm like, oh.
Then you'll love God of War.
Dude, yeah, I was going to say, that's
They start giving you hints almost immediately.
Like, to the point where that was the water.
To the point where, like, when they announced like the PC port, that was a feature. It's like, oh, they don't help you with puzzles as much now.
Yeah, I remember that was so much. I didn't care because I was like, I'm only willing to spend 5-10 minutes on this puzzle anyway before I call it quits. And so they were like literally telling me what to do in real time with me figuring it out, except for 1 or 2 puzzles. But yeah, as far as multiplayer goes. I like multiplayer. I don't know if I love multiplayer just in general anymore. Like, that's not the most important part to me. Now, and I just over the years, now it's like, okay, is it a good single player experience? That's number 1 priority. But I still like multiplayer. It's not like the most important thing about gaming. Plus, you know, you guys know how my kids are. Like, multiplayer to me too is like we're sitting next to each other, both playing different games, but like we're sharing our progress with each other. That's the more important stuff, but that has nothing to do with like how the game is designed to support it.
I remember a time whenever it was like important to me that there were both single player and multiplayer aspects to games. Like, I wanted like a cool, like a Skyrim that was co-op, or you wanted like get big games with cool. You knew like a game was coming out that had a really cool story. It'd be awesome if it was co-op, so you could enjoy this with someone together. Like, I remember like wanting that. Now, not so much with everything. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's enough variety of games now to where like I'm not trying to like put that will on everything that comes out. But at a certain point, probably in the 360 cycle, like I wanted a game to have a little bit of everything, to have like a spot. And when it didn't, it seemed like it was just like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, like less of a game or less of a product you were buying, and that makes sense though. But it was so new and exciting too.
Mm-hmm. I felt that way then, but now it's like every game's trying to do too much.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely don't feel like that anymore.
the one game I want to mention while we're on this topic, is one specifically made for multiplayer. Like, you can't play it without it being multiplayer, but it's like really great. It Takes Two. Like, I think you had initially like showed me that game.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking about how I feel about that multiplayer.
But that's something that I was able to like go home and like tell Bryson like, hey, we should play this together. And I'm kind of sad we hadn't finished it.
I didn't finish it either.
But playing that game together is almost like therapeutic, because the main characters of the game
what they're going through
are a married couple, and even if you're not having the same problems they are, like you're still able to take something from it or learn something from it.
Well, working together, realizing like, okay, are we working together to solve this level? But
there are those times where I was like, like I'm holding my tongue. I'm biting my tongue here.
Oh, for sure. It forces you to like meet each other halfway. But it's also the reason I can't get the boys to play it. I can't you play as a married couple. They don't want to play it together. No, it's a great example. But I was gonna say too, yeah, like when it comes to multiplayer, I don't know if it's the multiplayer that bothers me as much as like how it's integrated as far as financially and system wide. So like Diablo 4, like I really enjoy that game. Like I actually could probably enjoy it more. And it's probably just a problem with me being OCD about it. But like the fact that you cannot play it unless you log on online, even if you're doing single player, right? No one else in your party. That offends me. Yeah. Like literally is just like, so why did I even buy it? You know what I mean? Like, why not just charge me a monthly fee? Like, why pay $80 or $70, whatever, for this game? Like, and then knowing that, okay, well, one day if they take the servers offline, like, is there going to be any more game? Or is it just, hey, you got your 10 years out of it, and that's it? Like, I despise that entire concept.
I think eventually they'll release, like, a version, like, once...
I think you're right.
If servers ever do go off, they'll be like, here's the base content.
But I still don't like it.
Dragon Age Origins, like, whenever you sign into it, it still says it has to log into the EA servers. But I don't think it's still, like, a server bait. Like, I think some of that is to, like, you have rewards that connect to the game. Like, the game has nothing to do with being online. But, like, there's a connection from the game to your account that, like, has, like, progress for certain achievements within like EA rewards or whatever it is. But like I just thought that you saying that made me think of, like I logged on Dragon Age Origins not long ago and it said it was logging into the server and I was like, what fucking server does this game have?
Yeah, what is it doing for the game? But I don't like even the idea of it. I don't like the idea of being like, I mean, and I thought about it the other day, and I was like, well, if the internet goes out,
so when Silksong comes out, and
when it requires that Team Cherry server they've got set up, that's gonna bother me. It's gonna probably make me where I don't want to play it. But I don't like the idea of you know, I mean, it's a silly scenario, but it's like, okay, if the internet goes out, I still want to be able to, like, as long as I have electricity, I want to be able to play this thing.
That's what I think in general, though, is like, when the power goes out, like, how are we going to do any of it?
But that's a good point. Well,
if you got physical copies, you can at least look at the case. Well,
yes.
And I know we only got
that was a good time.
I know we've only got like 15, 20 minutes left. But that kind of like segues in a little bit to one of the other topics as far as physical versus digital. Mm-hmm. And like, I mainly had that topic because I'm not completely sold one way or the other right now. Yeah. And it's the line's getting blurrier and blurrier. Because I pretty much switched over to majority like digital when Xbox One first came out. And mainly just because of the convenience factor of like not having to switch out discs. Not physically taking up a lot of space, but I've always been a little bummed out about it that didn't really, at least on the surface, it didn't affect price any. Like, they're still selling the same game for the same price whether you get it physical or not.
And but live services, and like it's not most games aren't a one-time payment. It's most games have something that's got and a reoccur. So like not only that. Games went up in price. Yeah. When I'm sure I don't know, I haven't looked at numbers, but I'd say people are buying digital way more than
physical. They are. Yeah. I just read an article.
Well, like with PC, that's pretty much the only way. To buy games now are all digital. So like coming from like that side of it, I was already kind of conditioned to just accept it. But even now with like physical copies, like. It's getting even harder to even get a physical copy and not have that same concern because there are some games now. There's not like a specific one that comes to mind, but if it doesn't require a day one patch, there's some games like even with a disc, you still have to download the whole game. Yeah. So you still essentially only getting the license key. Yeah. So there's still going to be that what if scenario of what if that specific like service or something goes down and I can never download it again. So I've always got to keep it downloaded if I ever want it in the future. Or something like one of my biggest complaints, like this generation consoles. Before I ever played Kingdom Hearts, I was like, I want this to come to Switch. I want to play it on Switch. And then when they finally announced it for Switch, it's a cloud it's a cloud service game. So like even though you've got the physical cartridge, there's going to be a day where you're not going to be able to play that game, even if you've got the physical version. Mm-hmm. Now, what are the likelihood? I don't know.
And the fact that cloud versions are still expensive. It's essentially full price games whenever they're not on a sale.
Yeah, I detest that. I hate that.
Speaking of sales, though, like that's like the one aspect of digital games that it's kind of been a double-edged sword because I bought probably way more games than I ever should have because they were on sale. That I know I'll never. There's games I bought that I know I'll never play.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But digital games do go on sale more often, anecdotally, than what physical games do.
I was almost solid physical up until the PS4. Before I got my Switch, because my Switch I've went mostly digital, just because I don't like changing out the cartridges. I do not like it. The Pokemon games are the only thing that I buy physical. Everything else can be digital for all I care. So like I'll say PS4. I was in the camp of people that had to send their PlayStation back to Sony because it had the issue where it would automatically eject discs. So like, and this was in the height of Destiny 1, and I got the white PS4 Destiny 1, and had to send it back to Sony after dealing for like a few months. So I bought the PS4 that came with Destiny. I had bought Destiny prior to that to play it on a friend's PS4 at home. So I bought a copy of Destiny, right? It's about to be my whole problem with Bungie in general. And it's not really, it's just a series of unfortunate events that led to me buying the game multiple times. But so it is very, very like, I'm sorry. It's very relevant as to my problem with like physical and digital. I buy Destiny prior to owning a PS4, and then I buy a PS4 that comes with Destiny, and I think I gave that copy to someone or sold it to them for cheaper. And then my PS4 starts ejecting discs, so before sending it back to Sony, I just buy the game digitally, so I can just work around that and start buying all my games digitally. But it would all the time randomly just where it's trying to eject something that's nothing in the disc tray. It's just making that noise. So eventually I gave up and sent it to him. And then, so I bought Destiny essentially 3 times. And then here come all the different DLCs and expansions and skins and whatever. But that whole like adjusted me to just buying all my games digitally on the PS4. And that just ended up becoming a habit for that. And then whenever I got my Switch, like learning that I hated how you have to swap the. It just that is inconvenient for a little console like that,
especially for a portable.
Yeah, they don't even taste good. Like, have you tasted them?
I've heard of the taste. I've heard of the deflavorant Nintendo put on those.
What's weird is like with the Switch is like I'm kind of the opposite, and mainly for like a sentimental reason. Of like what the Super Nintendo was for me as a kid, and having all those cartridges.
Yeah,
even
and those
though
tasted fine.
Well, you didn't taste those; you just blew into them. But
well, I don't suck them. Maybe that too.
You just suck them like Switch games. You blew them.
But like so for the Switch, I do essentially want to have like my Switch games digital for that reason. But at the same time, I try to think back to like the sentimental value of it with the way I feel about Super Nintendo. It's like those are the specific games I want to have physical. But
something that's more like nostalgic to you. Like, like Final Fantasy 7 and Crisis Core and Remake or
Yeah.
Rebirth. Like I wanted physical copies of those. I love this
And-
game. I want a physical copy.
And that's
of it.
kind of the direction I'm going now, where like I've the way I've been playing on PC and how I've been utilizing emulators and stuff. That's what's kind of got me back into the mindset of, well, I'm going back to play all these games, so I'm trying to be mindful now of the games I'm playing right now that I'm going to want to boot up like maybe 10, 15 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So like when the college football game came back, I got that physical. With Sparking Zero coming out, I got that physical. Like Shredder's Revenge, I got that physical. I mean, kind of on the same boat with you, Pokemon games for sure. But yeah, I'm just trying to be mindful of like, I'm not going to get a physical copy of a game I'll never play again. So like now that I've played Remake and Rebirth, I would probably go back and buy physical copies of those because there's a likelihood I'll want to play it again.
There's a lot of physical games that like I had that I wish I still had, but also went through the like I traded in so much shit as a stupid teenager and 20-year-old that
It's
like
kind of a necessity too, though.
to be able to kind of fuel the
Get the new stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like because I was so bad about that, I've gotten rid of so many games. I don't want to buy them again. But it's like I would love to own physical copies of BioShock 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna just have them to put them on the shelf. Like at this point,
Right.
I've owned them probably twice each and traded
Yeah.
them in, and it's just because I've went through that loop with so many things. And when I buy something digital, I mean, with what we were talking about with the whole server thing, I essentially own it forever until until I don't. But like, I don't know. It just seems like with the way things are going now, like owning a physical copy of something doesn't really mean as much.
It doesn't.
Like
I mean,
nowadays with current games, like
the
maybe
past
something
year.
like, I mean, cartridge games and stuff, like old Nintendo consoles or even like old PlayStation 1 games and stuff that they don't like emulate or whatever. Like that would be cool to own copies of, but I don't know. Now there's not too many games that I would like prefer to own physically because unless it's something that's just I want to own have it on my shelf to have it to be able to look at every once in a while and be like it's a good there's not really as much of a point to own something physically or to have that reason like if I trade this in, this is a currency, or if I buy this physically, I can get a little bit more out of it if I decide to trade it in. There is that, but with the as how fast like games degrade in value, it's almost not even worth it doing that.
It's not.
Like
Well, it's
because
really not, especially
Not
because
unless
if you
it's like
trade it
a-
in soon enough for it to be valuable, you've probably traded it in too soon to get the most out of the game.
Well, yeah, and why'd you even buy it physical in the first,
Right.
or why'd you even buy it in the first place? Like, just rent it if you're going to turn it within 3 days. But like, I think for me, ideally, I would have digital and physical everything, right? Like
Both?
yeah, like
Physical copy of it, and then but I like that stays on the shelf, and I load it on there.
Now, is that a goal? No,
Right.
But like, it's because it's financially, it's ridiculous.
I've bought a game multiple times because of that.
But now there are games I own.
Shredder's Revenge, I bought. That was more an issue with limited run.
Yeah.
But like, I bought a digital version because I wanted to keep the physical and sealed. Did the same thing with Scarlet and Violet.
Did that with the Mario, the 3-pack Mario game.
Oh,
that was
nice!
limited.
You have that physical. Yeah, that was been a good one. But I think like, I mean, there are. I do get a certain okay. So for a while, it was all digital. Like when they said that, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. They're gonna be cheaper," and I just get to shuffle through my library of games, and this is great and awesome. And the fact is that what's on your hard drive, if the game's downloaded, is the same thing as in principle that's on the disc. It's just okay. So it's written on a piece of silicone, or it's written on a hard drive. What's the difference to me?
Yeah.
Now, and I've like I get that, but now with the DRM rights and like how they work, and just putting that in the system, or if your internet goes out, particularly with like Diablo, which you can't play on offline anyway. So it's like, well, it wouldn't even matter if you have the disc with that one. But like if you can do that, and put the disc in there and it runs without you having to log into anything, that's a value add to me. But that's per game. Like, that's not, every game isn't going to be like that. And then the other thing is, like, okay, Baldur's Gate. Okay, like, we have that digitally. This had 24 patches. Now, it was in a good state when it came out. It wasn't like a janky game, but like they added new endings and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, if I had bought a physical edition, which didn't exist at the time, it wouldn't have even been the game I want to play. Like, even if I had the disc but didn't have the updates, would I want to turn it on? No. So it's like there's no point. To your point, like, well, there's no value in getting that. But where there is, where I do like it is, people collect vinyls, records, you know, and that's realizing that and going, okay, you know what, that's good enough for me. Like, just to have the physical product, the disc, and have a sense of ownership of it. That has its own value to me.
But even that's kind of like under attack in a way, because
most
most games that you buy steelbook of now doesn't come with a disc.
I know.
If you buy like the Spider-Man Collector's Edition for PS5, doesn't come with a disc. Like, it specifically says on the box that it comes with the codes. It's like, so then what good's just the case?
That's how they're meeting people like us in the middle.
Yeah, and that's...
But those people still have to end up buying, like, if they really want to have it, now they've got to buy the collector's edition and
they do.
edition.
And they do.
See, I do like that with books. Like, I listen to audiobooks. If I really enjoy the book, I'll buy the physical book.
See, that's...
I never break the spine on it.
That is exactly where I'm at.
Like, but that's...
With games.
That's,
And sometimes, like that steel case, that is a nice sweetener for it to go. You know, I am going to go buy it. Like, I was really excited about Dragon's Dogma, which we won't get into.
Yeah,
but
Final
got the
Fantasy
steel...
VII Rebirth.
Oh, dude, I do regret not getting the physical edition of Rebirth. But I also, it's so funny is there's no... Okay, when it comes to this like conversation and like trying to say this is what's better, neither one of them is better. Like, that is such the weirdest thing, because it's like, okay, on one hand, I don't have the disc for it, and like, oh, it's 2 discs, right? And there's like, so like there's that or maybe it's more, I don't know, but it's 2 discs, and it's such an iconic game to where I do want to see it on the
I think
shelf.
it was on 3 discs.
Man,
Rebirth.
And I've looked like every day to see if there's sales on it, just to be like, okay, here's it $20 yet, which it's not going to be for like until like next year. But so on one hand, I'm like, man, I really regret that. Like, this is such a special game. It's such an iconic game. But then I look and I go like, oh, I'm so glad that I have it digitally, because I own it no matter like what console I upgrade to. Or let's say the PS5 Pro is $400 in 3 years or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now because I have the digital version, it's going to have all those patches. Like, it's a truer representation of the game. It's going to have improved visuals. So like, it's like, well, then the disc would just be this old rusty version that I don't want to play anyway. You know, it's just it doesn't really
Just
matter.
an unfortunate
almost.
product of the time.
Yeah.
My fear with that, though, and we haven't like seen it yet, but we're starting to see aspects of it where the 3DS eShop went down.
Oh yeah.
Xbox 360 marketplace went down.
PlayStation Vita.
Vitas went down.
Yeah.
So you can no longer buy those games. The fear I have is because right now, as long as you own it, you can still re-download it. Is there a possibility that one of these days, like, the server that those downloads are on goes down?
Absolutely.
And you can no longer re-download it, even if you own it.
I think so.
That's the fear I have. And like, they recently passed the law in California that like these marketplaces have to tell you that you're only getting a license now. And on the surface, it's like, oh, that's nice. Maybe that'll convince them to actually give you ownership of it. It's like, no, they're just blatantly ahead of it now to tell you don't own it.
And you're going to have to be okay with it.
And it's going to be up to the consumers to not buy anything in order to kind of change that. But we're so far in that nobody's going to change their habits.
I mean, especially
Because nothing like structurally is changing. They're just telling you what it is versus what was always unwritten before.
Yeah, and I mean, in principle, I don't know how much it really matters that you don't own it. Like, and saying that is like I don't even like saying that, but if you really think about it and go, well, how many TV shows on Netflix do I watch? Like, why do I need to own it?
Do I just need to be able to have access to it and to be able to experience it? And I think there's, I don't know if there's a good reason I feel like I need to own it. Besides
I feel
going...
conflicted on that with, like, The Mandalorian... Like, they came out with The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2, like, a steel case box set. Kenobi, Season 1, steel case box sets. Like, because those are limited series. Now, what if those things, like, get willowed and get taken off of the Disney Plus? Like, what if they're not available on streaming anymore? Then you're going to want it. But it's like, there's not been too many examples where, like, something was available and it's not available anymore.
Yeah.
So,
but that's a great part of the conversation. What we're talking about too is like just preservation in general.
Yeah.
Like modern preservation. It's not like it's without there being. Oh, I'm not sorry. Not without there being, but with there being so much content that isn't physical, and going, what does preservation look like, and like, does it even exist, or is it just everything is a copy of a copy of a copy, and like that's the only hope you have for it, right? Because here's the thing: people are downloading and saving like Mandalorian on a remote server, right? So that it is preserved for all time, because once it gets updated, that is gone. Good luck getting like PT. Oh my god, like what a great example of
that white PS4 had PT.
Dude, and people, like, there is something really scary, like almost cosmically scary about where we're at with going, like, stuff can just go away and like be locked away and it's gone, and like, but then it's also not gone because you can't like erase anything that's been on the internet. Like, good luck getting rid of that MySpace photo. It's like that Google's got that forever. But it's just this weird conundrum of like, what does it mean to have something, and like, do you have any power over what gets taken from you in like a digital age, even if you have the physical disc? I mean, there's probably a line of code on the PlayStation that says you got to sign in every 24 months to be able to continue using disc. I don't know. We accepted some in-term agreement, so I don't know. It's just,
well, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, if you're connected to internet, like, even if you have the disc, now there are ways around it in the sense of like creating different accounts.
Yeah.
But like, even if you have the disc, if you sign in under a certain account, that account can get banned and pretty much render that disc useless.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are ways around it, but you could just, if you, like all those digital games, like if the game doesn't get pulled, like your account can still get banned.
You do like we did back in the day and figure out somebody's login, sign into their shit, put a bunch of heinous stuff in their bio, and then log back into yours and report the shit out of them, bro.
See, I think,
and then you're screwed.
Yeah. Then you're screwed.
I think what we need to see is like some kind of, and we haven't got there yet because of the age, but like some kind of public domain where like we're starting to see that now with like books and stuff.
Like a depository of all this stuff that's protected and maintained. Yeah.
So like hopefully, I don't know what the circumstances are around it now, but hopefully one day like Super Mario 3 is under public domain and anybody can download it and play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
because like Nintendo's like the worst offenders right now, because they're not even, there's a lot of those games they're not even giving you a way to play. Like at least on PC there's like a lot of games that like you can still find ways to buy it and play it, but like with Nintendo stuff, they're not selling it, and the ones they are selling, they're putting on an online service that you have to pay for.
Yeah. And if you try to preserve it, which you're going, I don't know if Nintendo's preserving this. Like, how can we play X game? And it's not even that you're, like you've said this before, it's not even that you're not willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's that you're like, okay, it's just, I'm getting concerned that like, we'll never be able to play this again. And I don't trust you, Nintendo, to even protect your own product from the decay of time. And it's such a weird thing, because then you're like, but I did pay for it. No, wait, I've paid for it 3 times. No, I've paid for it 4 times. I've bought all these remasters, but I still can't play it on my machine of choice. Like, that's such a weird thing. But I don't know. I think that ultimately, like, the thing about the physical edition is, like, what it represents is, even if you can never put in your Final Fantasy VII disc, you know that the data, the experience is there, like, from like a physical perspective. Like you can always go like, man, if we had a machine that could, I know it's like a weird post-apocalyptic thing, but it's like
The
if we
memory
had a,
card's sitting right on top of the disc.
like it's there. The
on
game
your
is
shelf.
physically there, and that, and I own it. Versus, well, there was this experience I had, but it's like been deleted, and it's just it's the ether doesn't even exist anymore.
I mean, as much as I'm like, I don't have a lot of stuff from my childhood anymore. I've let go of the need to hold on to so much physical stuff, and gaming has just come along with that. Because like,
yeah,
I mean, if I had all my old games and memory cards from being a kid, and I could access like my save files from a kid, I might feel different. But because I don't have that, really, I might have a PlayStation 1 that has all my save files on it at my parents' house. But that's really it.
Well, I think it's actually a good point to wrap up. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll get this up on YouTube soon. But yeah, thanks so much.
See ya.